my brother didn't also mention that there were some states they couldn't, carry out that survey. About 5 states.
Because of insecurity.
Okay, so, that rendered, to a very large extent, that exercise inconclusive. I'm not a very huge fan of scoping studies, which is what this is all about. And this also shows, to a very large extent, the failure of our data infrastructure. Okay, because that we're talking about now, a country that has statistics of 93 million confirmed people living under the breadline, should not be talking about an academic exercise, which is basically what this is all about, with a lot of respect, to the MBS for what they do. But they can't do more than they're allowed to do vis-a-vis what's available to them. The proper thing is that when you want to collect data, for development purposes, it has to be real time. Okay, what should have happened is that MBS should have been able to now have infrastructure at the local government levels that generate this data on a daily basis. Yes, there might be an attempt to put migration, okay, but in putting that migration, you find out that when you're looking at forced migration, it's usually very difficult, to be able to trace these households and what has happened to them. Another very major factor should also have been taken into consideration is just not only insecurity, but climate change, which could have distorted, he had mentioned the COVID rightly, but the climate change is putting or will put more pressure on, whatever this efficacy of this data is. And he had mentioned that this is for development and planning purposes, and that's where I get a little bit scared. Okay, because
why?
If you're going to be using assumptions that you generated against 5,000 people to plan for 200 and something million people, it tells a lot. Okay, let's be real here. Yeah. But like I said, it is not, MBS is doing their best with what's available to them. The kind of data you need to begin to generate policy plans of action are not academic driven. Okay, they are sector-based like you asked. Okay, now in doing that household data and availability to farms, did you also now match them to availability to health facilities? Did you also match them to availability to education facilities? Did you also match them to availability to financial services? Did you also match them to availability to transport facilities? Because these are all the factors that you aggregate to now have what we call multidimensional poverty. And then when you're matching 5,000 households and you're following them for 14 years, I would have also have thought that part of that data would have also now matched the children. Okay, if you had gone to that family and the youngest was 14 years ago, she should have been 21 now, if my math is correct. Okay, so where is he? What is he doing? How has the society been able to, adapt him? Do you understand what I'm saying, Jumai? So sometimes when we look at what we'll call data, it's important that we oppose it against 3 levels: the primary source, the secondary source, and then, these surveys that we issue questionnaires. A lot of us who are academics, even at BSc level, I'm sure you did it when you were doing your I don't know what course you read, Jumai.
NASCOM.
Okay, I think that there are some courses you read.
Communication development.
You need to develop some questionnaires, and you see, intending graduates walking around with these questionnaires and then asking people to fill out these forms. So for me, it's I'm not condemning MBS, please, but I'm saying it's important that we put it in the right context.
You don't think that this is sufficient?
I don't think it's proper. Okay, that's not the kind of data we should be throwing around, as forming the basis of our policy planning. Okay. If we are talking about this as an academic exercise that can be able to help academicians with their research studies, excellent and brilliant. But if we are going to be putting this into national development, I'll pass.